Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Ashok. This video is the continuation part of LWC crash course, and in last video we have covered most of the basic topics of LWC. So if you haven't watched my previous video and want to start from basic, then you can refer my first video. And today in this video we will learn advanced LWC topics. So let's get started. Alright, so now let's discuss about course outline or agenda. So in part 1 video, we have covered all these topics like what is LWC, why Salesforce launched LWC, advantages of using LWC, how to get started with LWC, what are the prerequisites and how you can set up your system to work on LWC, and how to create your first project and connect to your Salesforce org and then create first component. And also we discussed about component bundle and how we can deploy our component to org and use that component on our Salesforce pages. Along with this, we have also discussed about local development server, like how you can set up local development server and how you can locally preview and test your component without deploying to Salesforce org. Also, we have discussed about component lifecycle hooks, data bindings, getter properties, and HTML template directives like conditional rendering, looping, or iterations. Okay. So if you want to learn about these topics, then please refer my first video and you can find link in the description. And today in second part, we will cover these topics like what are decorators, how you can do data communication between related components and unrelated components, and how you can dispatch and handle events, what are lightning data services, what are base components, and what is the use of wire adapter, and how you can call Apex methods from LWC, how you can retrieve changes from org. And also we will complete these topics with a practical use case. Okay, and now let me show you what we will implement in this video. So let me open my another org. Here I already have implemented that use case. So here this is a hypothetical and simple use case which I have designed in such a way so we can cover most of the topics, and this will be very helpful to understand LWC concepts. Alright, so here I have created a LWC accounts custom tab in which I have created multiple LWC components, and this is a search box with text box and button. If user wants to filter accounts with the account name, then user can type any name over here like Acme and click on search. Okay, and in the bottom part, here we have a table with all the accounts, and here we are showing ID and name. And in third column, we have a button view contacts. So once we will click on this view contact button, then all the contacts related to this account will be populated here in right part. Right now you can see no account selected here, but once you will click on this any of view contacts button, then all the contacts related to this account will be visible there. So now I have clicked on this view contacts button, and here you can see all the contacts associated with this account, and title also gets changed. And here we have a button to add new contacts. So once you will click on this, it will open a pop-up, and from here we can add new contact for this account. So let me add new contact here. And account is auto selected here, so let me click on save. So now you can see Rohan Kumar is here. It means new contact is added for this account, and in front of each contact you can see two buttons are here to edit the contact and delete the contact. So let me click on this edit button. So it will also open a pop-up. So from here you can change the contact name and account also. So let me add something in last name 001, click on save. Now you can see name is updated here. Okay, and once you will click on this delete button, it will show a confirmation pop-up to you, and once you will click on this OK button, it will delete the contact and you can see the toast message here. Okay, so this is the simple use case that we will complete during this video, so you can understand all the topics with practical examples. Okay, now before going for practical implementation, first let's have a look of these few topics one by one in PPT, then we will move into practical implementation. Okay, so let's start with decorators. Then we can say decorator is a special kind of declaration that can change behavior of method or property. If you add decorator with any method or property, then behavior of that method or property gets changed. For example, by default properties or methods are private in LWC component, but if you add API decorator with any method or property, then they will be converted into public. Okay, and in LWC we have three decorators: Trake, API and Wire. And now if we talk about Trake, then we can say Trake is used to make private reactive properties. Reactive means when the value of property gets changed, then it will also automatically updated wherever we have used this property in HTML markup. Okay, next we have API decorator. Then we can say this is used to make public reactive properties. So as I said earlier, by default properties or methods are private in component and they can't be accessible out of the component. But let's say we want to expose some properties or methods to parent component. In that case, API decorator will help us. And we will see all these things in practical in few minutes. Now next we have Wire decorator. So generally we use Wire decorator to read salesforce data with the advantage of cache. I mean, with the help of Wire decorator, we can call Apex methods and the response will be saved into client-side cache. So for same subsequent request, data can be accessed from cache only without going to server again and again. So performance will be very good. And what kind of Apex methods we can call with Wire decorator, that we will see in practical part. Alright, now let's discuss on data communication in LWC components. So data communication means pass data between multiple components. And before going to understand how we can pass data between multiple components, we have to understand components structure, like how they are placed on DOM hierarchy. So generally components can be placed in two ways on DOM or page. First we have hierarchical components, or we can say related components. So here you can see in this image, we have component A and component B and C are the child of this component A. So this kind of component relationship is called parent-child relationship or hierarchical relationship. Okay. Next we have non-hierarchical, means unrelated components. So here you can see in this image, we have component A and component D, and we do not have direct relationship between these components. Okay. And now in LWC, we have different approaches to pass data between related or non-related components. So first let's talk about how to pass data between related components. Then here can be two scenarios, like parent to child or child to parent. For example, you can see here component A is the parent and B, C are the child. So if you want to pass data from component A to B or C, then this is called parent to child, and B to A means child to parent. So to pass data from parent to child, we generally use public properties, and child to parent we use custom events, and we will see these things in practical in some time. And if you want to pass data between non-related components, then also we have two ways: PubSub library or LMS, Lightning Messaging Services. And we can say PubSub is the singleton library that is created by Salesforce developers team, and this is a simple JS file that we can download from Salesforce server, and we can use it as a utility component in our project. And now generally we are not using PubSub after LMS launched. So let's discuss about LMS. So Lightning Messaging Services introduced by Salesforce in Winter 20 release, and before that PubSub was the only way to do communication between non-related components. But we had some limitations with PubSub, like we can do communication between LWC to LWC components only. I mean, we can't do communication between cross UI framework like LWC to Visualforce, and you can do communication between single page only. And PubSub was not a perfect solution by design also. So that's why Salesforce launched LMS, and LMS comes with lots of advantages over PubSub. Like we can do communication between cross UI frameworks like Aura to LWC, Aura to Visualforce, LWC to Visualforce, and also it works cross namespace and with multiple pages in same browser. Okay. Now let's discuss about LDS, Lightning Data Services. After this, we will directly jump into hands-on part, and we will discuss rest all the topics with practical demo. Okay. And now if we talk about LDS, then we can say this is the data service that is created by Salesforce on top of user interface APIs. So you can see here in this image, at the bottom we have Salesforce database, and here actually our data getting stored. Now if you want to get data from database again, then at the server end we have user interface APIs, and on top of that Salesforce created a client-side data service, that is Lightning Data Services. And with the help of this, we can work with Salesforce data without writing custom Apex. It means we can perform CARD operation from LWC components without writing custom Apex code. Like we can read, insert, update and delete data with the help of LDS. And LDS respect CARD access and field level security settings along with record sharing settings. Means LDS works according to user permission. And in LDS, there are two technologies to work with Salesforce data. First is base components and another one is wire adapter. And we will see their use in practical implementation. Okay. Now let's move into practical implementation and open VS Code with project. So I have opened my VS Code with project and this is the same project that we have created in last video. And if you do not have project created, then you can press Ctrl Shift and P. And this is the command plate window. So you can type here create project and you will find a create project option over here. You can use this and create new project. Okay. So let me open the use case again that we will implement in this video. So first we will start with this account search box and list. And we will complete this implementation in 3 components, though we can develop it in single component as well. But as per best practices, we should not have heavy loaded components. Instead of that, components should be breaked into small chunks as per requirement. So we will create one component for this search box, another for this account list table, and in third component, we will have these both components. So third will be the parent of these both components. Okay. So let's start with this search form component. So let's create new component here by pressing Ctrl Shift P. And you can find an option over here, create lightning web component. Select this one and let's type name here, account. Okay, so components has been created and we want here a text box with search button. So let me create markup here in HTML file. And I have already explained in last video, like whatever we want to show to the user, that we will write in HTML file. So let me quickly write the markup, then I will explain it to you. Okay, so I have done with the simple markup. So here I have used lightning layout and lightning layout item. And in this lightning layout item, I have created a simple text box and defined label enter account name. And in second layout item, I have created a simple button and label is search. And if you want to know like what is this lightning layout item and what is this lightning layout, then these are simple out of box component created by Salesforce by default. And once you will mouse over on them, then you will find all the attributes that we can pass or that we can use in these. Like we can use class, horizontal alignment, multiple rows. Like all these are the attributes we can use with this lightning layout. And if you want to learn more about these, like what all out of box components we have, then what you need to do, you can go on the official website of Salesforce. So let me show you how you can find these components. Just type here lightning component library and open the first link of Salesforce official website, developers.salesforce.com. Now here in the left part, you will see two categories, lightning web components and Aura. And if you want to check only for lightning web components, then click on this lightning and over here you will find all the pre-built components and you can use these all components in your application to take the advantage of ready-made features. Now let's find out lightning layout. So this is the lightning layout. So let me click on this. Okay, so here you can find the example like HTML file and JS file and CSS. You will find all these things over here. So if you want to learn about all the out of box components, that you can find over here. Okay, now let me open my VS Code again. Now if you want to preview and test this component, then we have to deploy it to the Salesforce org. Or in last video, we have also discussed about another way, that is local development server. So now let's use local development server to test this component locally, without deploying to the Salesforce. So let me right click on this component. Here we will see option preview component locally. So let me click on this. and it will start a local development server for this particular component. Okay, so this is the preview of our component, but now here the alignment of button and text box is not correct. So to do that, we need to write CSS. So over here again we have two options, like we can write custom CSS or we can use SLDS CSS classes. So SLDS is a CSS framework that is built by Salesforce, and we can find all the general purpose CSS over there. Okay, so here what we want to move this button a little bit down, so the text box and button will be in same position. So for that we need to give some margin from top and left to the button, and for now let's use SLDS classes. And if you don't know about SLDS classes, then just type on Google SLDS margin class and open SLDS website link, and here you will find the documentation for that. And once you will move down, so you can see examples also over here, like how much margin you want from top. So you can see over here. So let's copy any of the CSS. So we want this much margin, so let's copy this medium CSS and use here. And once you will save it, then our UI will automatically get updated. Still it is not in same alignment, so let's use another class, that is large. Okay, now we have both in same alignment, but we also want to have some space between both of these. So for that we need to give the margin from left. So let's copy the CSS for left margin as well. So here we can find the CSS for left margin. Like SLDS created multiple classes, so you can use according to your requirement. Okay, perfect. Now we have both in same alignment and we have also some space. Okay, now we are done with the HTML UI part. So let's write some JavaScript code to read the value of this text box into JavaScript file so we can use it further. So for that we need to create onChange event handler on this text box. So whenever the value of this text box gets changed, then event handler will get called and we can read the value in JavaScript file. So first let's add onChange event here and define handler name. And now let's create this handler method in JavaScript file. And over here in this event, we will get an input parameter that is object of this event. So let me define that. So all the details related to this event handler we will get in this event parameter, like what is the name of event, who is the target of this event, and many other things. Now the question is how we can get the text box value here. So in this event object we can get the target also, and who is the target? Our text box. So in nutshell, we have our text box reference in this event. First let me declare a property here so we can hold the value of text box. Okay, now let's assign text box value in this search text property. So in this event parameter we will get a target property, and target is our text box, and also we can get value like this. So this is the syntax to get the value from the event. Okay, so now we will have the text box value in this search text property. And now let's create a search button click handler. And add it in our HTML markup. So let's create a on-click event here and bind this handler. Okay, so this is how we have bind event handlers with HTML controls. Now if you want to verify, like are we getting value on this property or not, then what you can do, you can print this property value in console. So let me write console statement here. Now let's test it. So now in order to check that console message, you need to open browser inspect window. So you can right click on your mouse and select inspect, and also you can press F12 from your keyboard, and over here you will see a console tab, and click on this and let's clear it first. Now let me click on this search again. So you can see test here. Now let me change something and click on search again. Okay, so this is how we can test our code here, and we can also debug our code here in this source window that we will see in some time later. Okay, now let's create another component and add this form component in that. So this will be the parent component for search form and table. So let me create markup first, then I will explain it to you. Okay, so now I have used lightning card here, and under this card I have called my account search form component. So as I have explained in last video, C will be the prefix for custom components, like C is the extension, and component name get converted into kebab case. Okay, now let's save and check it. So let me click on this go back button, and here you will find all the available components. So let me click on this account search. Okay, so we are getting error here, could not find the compiled component. So let me check it. Okay, so I made a mistake here. So this should be form instead of from. So let me change it here. Now let's check it. Now we can see our component in parent component as well. Okay, now let me open our use case again. So this search form we have designed and wrapped into parent component. Now as a next step, we need to pass search text value to parent component on this search button click. So from there we can pass that value to list component to read data from Salesforce. Okay, so here we need to pass data from child component to parent component. Like this account search form component is the child component of account search. So as we have discussed, we need to create and dispatch custom events in order to pass data from child component to parent component. I mean, in child component, we need to create and dispatch custom event, and in parent component, we need to create handler method. So whenever custom event will dispatch from child component, it will be listened at parent component with payload. So let me write code to create and dispatch event on this search click handler. So let me remove this console statement, and first let me create an object of custom event. And here as a first parameter we need to pass our event name. So let me write here, and if you want to pass any data, that we can pass as a second parameter in detail property, so parent can read that data. So let me pass search text from here. Okay, and from here we can pass any kind of data type like string, integer and object as well. Now we have declared our event, and now we have to dispatch it so parent can listen it. So to dispatch event we need to use standard JavaScript method, that is dispatch event, and here we need to pass our custom event object, that is event as of now. Okay, now we are done at child component side, and now we need to handle this event in parent component. So there are two ways to register event handler. First is declarative approach and another one is programmatic approach. So first let's see declarative approach. Now I have splitted my screen in two parts, and now in parent component we can define event handler with child component tag, and we need to add on before the event name. So our event name is search account contact, and we need to prepend on here, and here we need to give handler method name that will create in JavaScript file. Now let's create this method in JavaScript file, and here we will get event as an input parameter. So let me define that, and also let me create a property over here to hold the search text. And now let me read the search text value from event and hold in this search text property. So if you remember here, we have passed our search text in detail property, and this is our at parent side. We can read values from detail. Okay. Now how it will work? When we will click on search button, then this event handler will get called, and from here we are creating and dispatching custom event, and we have handled this custom event over here, and we are calling this handler method. Okay, and here we are reading value from detail property again. So this is how we can pass data from child component to parent component with the help of custom events. Okay, now let's save and test it. Now let me show you here how you can debug the code in local development server. Now let's open the browser inspect window, and in this source tab, somewhere over here you will find your components. So let me check it here. Okay, so we have two components right now, account search and account search form. So let me select this account search, and we can see code of this component here. Okay, and this is our event handler. So let me add a debugger over here by clicking on this line number. Now let me enter something here and click on search. Okay, so our debugger is now here, and in this event.detail we have hello. Okay, so this is how we are able to get the value from child component to parent component. Okay, so let me close this, and now let's say we want to add event handler conditionally, I mean on the basis of some conditions. So in that case, we can't have it in HTML markup, and in this case we can register it programmatically in our JS file. So let me open my JS file, and as of now we do not have any specific condition, but for demo purpose let's register it in constructor, and we need to call super method in constructor. And now here we can define our handler, and here we will use add event listener, and first parameter is our event name, and in case of programmatic approach we don't need to prepend on, so event name will be same, and second we need to provide event handler method name. So let me pass that. Okay, this will also perfectly work, but we should prefer declarative approach instead of programming, unless we need to add event handler on the basis of some conditions, because in case of programmatic approach we need to write some extra code, and as of now we will go with the declarative approach. So let me remove it. Okay, so as of now we have search text value in our parent component as well. Now let's create third component to read and show accounts, and name it account search result. Okay, now let's call this new component in parent component. Now as a next step, we need to pass search text value to this search result component. So this is the scenario of passing data from parent component to child component, and as we have discussed, we need to create public properties in child component, then we can pass values from parent component. So first let's create a property over here in this search result component and make it public. Now the question is how we can make this property as a public property. So as we have discussed in decorator section, if you want to make any property or method public, in that case we can use API decorator. So let me use it here. And also we need to import this API decorator from LWC module. Okay, so we have created a public property in child component. Now it's time to pass value of property from parent component. Then again we have two ways, declarative and programmatic. So here we will see only declarative. Programmatic we will see sometime later. So here in this parent component, here with child component tag, we can pass property value. So here we need to type child property name in kebab case. So our property name is search text. So it should be search-text. And pass search text property from here as a value. And this search text property is parent property, this one. Okay, so we are passing this search text property value from this markup to child component. Okay, so let's understand again what we did here. We have created a public property in child component with the help of API decorator, and now this property can be accessible at parent component side. And here in parent component with child component markup, we have used this property value in kebab case and passing search text value. Okay, so this is the very simple process to pass data from parent to child, and in case of child to parent, we need to create custom events and handle them in parent component. Okay, so now we have search text value in this result component as well, and now we will create a apex class and write a method to get accounts list. So as we have discussed in last video, we can create apex classes as well in VS Code. So let me create apex class here by pressing Ctrl+Shift+P, and in this command palette window, let's find create apex class and select it. Here we need to give the apex class name. So let me enter it. Now it is asking for directive, like where we want to save this class, and now we want to save it in default directory. So just press enter. Okay, now apex class is created. Now let's create a method here. So first let me complete the code, then I will explain it to you. Alright, so I have done with code. Now let me explain it to you. So here I have used aura enable annotation with this method. But why I have used this? Because if we want to call any apex method from aura or LWC, then method should be marked public or global with static, and also annotated with aura enable attribute. So this is required annotation with method if we want to call that method from client side framework like LWC or aura. Okay. And from this method, I am returning list of accounts, and method name is getAccounts. And here I am taking a string parameter for search text, and in method, here I am checking like do we have anything in this search text or not. So if search text is empty, then I am returning all the accounts. So you can see over here I am returning ID and name, and I don't have any where condition here. And if we have something in this search text, then we have to return only matching accounts. So here I have used where condition with like, so it will return only matching accounts. Okay, so we are done with our apex method, and now let's use this method in our component. And all the aura enable methods also available in the form of JavaScript module. So in order to use aura enable apex methods in LWC, first we need to import method here. So let me import it here. So here after writing salesforce and apex, we need to use apex class name. So let me copy it. And method name will be added after dot. So let me copy the method name. Okay. And let me use method name here also. So this is the syntax to import the apex class method here, like salesforce, apex, then class name, then method name with the dot. Okay. Now we can call this method from component. So generally there are two approaches to call apex method from LWC component. First is with the help of wire decorator, and another is imperative call. Okay. So before going to further, let's see the difference between both approaches and which should be used when. Now if we compare wire and imperative approach, then we have many differences. So let's discuss about them one by one. So first is use case. So wire adapter is using case to store method response at client side. Like wire adapter save response in our browser case. So whenever we are going to fetch same record multiple times, then record will be served from browser case itself and no server call made again and again in this case. So performance will be very good because we will get data without going to server. Okay. And when we call method using imperative approach, then response will not automatically get saved into cache. Next we have DML operations. Then we can say we can't perform DML operations using wire decorator. Only we can select records using wire because cacheable true attribute is required with aura enable annotation if we want to call method using wire. And in cacheable true method, DML operations are not allowed, means if we will perform insert, update, delete, then we will get error. And using imperative approach, we can call both cacheable or without cacheable methods. So using without cacheable method, we can perform DML operations. And next we have calling. So wire decorator will automatically call apex method when component get loaded or parameter value gets changed. And we don't have much control on this. So let's say we want to call apex method on demand, like on clicking of button. Then we have to go with imperative approach. Okay. Next we have method signature. So if you want to call apex method using wire decorator, then method should be marked as cacheable true with aura enable annotation. And with imperative call, only aura enable will fine. Okay. Now let me open my VS Code again. So here in our requirement, we want to show account list on our component load. And also we want to refresh data when we click on search button. So in this case, we can use wire decorator as well, because when we click on search button, then search text property will get changed. So wire will automatically refresh data from apex method. Though we can use both approaches here, but in such kind of cases, we should use wire to take advantage of cache. Okay. Now let me start writing code to call apex method using wire. So we will use wire decorator here with @ and as a first parameter, we will pass method. And if you want to pass parameters also, that we can pass as a second parameter. So let me type comma, and here we can pass parameters in the form of object. So let me add curly braces. Then our parameter name, what we have in our apex class, that is search text. So let me copy and paste here. Now we need to pass property. So now here the question is, why I have used $ before this property name? So the answer is to make this parameter reactive. Reactive means whenever the value of this search text property will get changed, then wire will call apex method again and refresh data according to new parameter values. Okay. So in our case, when we click on search button, then we will get updated value in this search text property, and whenever value will get changed, then wire will refresh data due to reactive nature. Okay. And at last, let me create a property here to hold the wire response. Okay. Now we have called apex method using this wire decorator, and we will get response in this account list property. Okay. Now it's time to bind our data with UI. So for that, we will use lightning data table. So let me go to the lightning component library again and copy the code so we don't have to write everything. So let me search data table here. And over here you can find implemented example with code. And in this documentation tab, you can learn about all the options of data table. And here you can find HTML markup. So let me copy and paste it in our component. Okay. And here in this key field, we will use any unique column value. So we have ID. And in this data attribute, we need to pass our accounts data that you can find in this accounts list.data property. And in the wire decorator, we will get our response in data property. So our actual accounts list we will find in this accounts.data property. And what all columns we want to have in this data table, that we can define and pass in this columns attribute. So let me copy columns array as well from website. So here in this JavaScript section, you can find all the JavaScript code. So let me copy these columns and paste it in our JavaScript file. And now let's modify columns according to our requirement. So we want only 3 columns like ID, name and actions. So let's modify this array. First we have ID and field name is also ID. Second we have name, field name is also name, and type we do not require with text column, so let me remove it from here. And third we have actions column, and we do not have any field name, so let me remove it from here. Now in actions column we want to bind button, so let's change the type of this column to button. And here label means what will be the heading of column, and field name means which key of result set you want to bind with this column. And with this actions column we do not want to bind it with any specific field, so that's why we are not using field name over here. And there are multiple properties provided by Salesforce to configure our columns as per our requirement, that you can find here in documentation section. Okay, now we want to add button attributes like label, title and name, so let me add that here. Okay, so in this type attributes property we can pass additional attributes for column. So with our button we want to add label, name, title and value. Okay, now let's create a property here in component class, so that can be accessed in HTML markup. So as per best practices, constant should be in capital letters, so that's why I have changed it, and I have assigned it into columns property. So now we can bind this columns property in our HTML markup. Okay, now we are done with our code, and if we want to continue testing using local development server, then we require a scratch org, because without a scratch org we can't run Apex code using local development server. And if we are using developer or sandbox orgs, then in local development server we can only test components without Apex. Okay, so now we have two options. First, we should start testing our components in developer or sandbox org by deploying components. Else we need to create a scratch org and continue with local development server. And now I will go with scratch org. So you will get to know like what is scratch org and how we can create it. So first let's talk about what is scratch org. Then we can say scratch org is the temporary development environment in Salesforce that generally we use to develop and test a specific feature. Or if you want to test something without impacting our current org, then you can use scratch orgs. And we can have 3 active scratch orgs at a time in our developer account. So to create a scratch org, DevHub should be enabled in our org. So this is the prerequisites. So let's enable DevHub first. So we can enable DevHub in multiple ways, like from VS Code using command or command plate UI, or we can directly log in into our org, and in setup menu we can find DevHub option. Okay, so for now let's use command plate UI. So let's press Ctrl+Shift+P, and here we can find an option authorize DevOps. So select this. Now it will open login panel. Now it is done. So let's open our VS Code again. And if you want to check it, then you can select Salesforce CLI here. So here you can see successfully authorized. Okay. Now before going to create a scratch org, let's update some configurations related to scratch org. So here in this config folder, you will find a scratch org configuration file. And here in this file, we will add one more property, add sample data, and set it to true. So it will create sample data for us like accounts, opportunity, and contacts. Else it will create blank org. Okay. Now we are ready to create a scratch org. So here also we have multiple ways, like we can use command or command plate UI. So as usual, let's use command plate UI, and here we have an option, create a default scratch org. So let's select this. Now here it is asking to select configurations. So let's select this default one and press enter. Here let's give the scratch org alias name. And press enter. Now at last, here we need to enter the duration, and we can set expiration between 1 to 30 days. So after this, it will automatically get expired. Like we won't be able to access this scratch org after this duration. Okay, so let's enter 30 and press enter. Now it will take some time, so let's wait. Okay, so create a default scratch org successfully ran. Okay, but generally we should get an org ID and username, but I think something went wrong here, so that's why we are also getting the error message here. But it's completely fine, because you can see here our default org is scratch org now. Okay, now we are done with our scratch org creation, and let's restart our local development server, because earlier it was started using different credentials. So let's use this stop local development server command. Now again start it. And here let's open our component. But here we have some errors, could not find the compiled component. Okay, so let's check code again. Here everything is fine. Oh, here we have a spelling mistake, so let me correct it. And here also there should be S. Okay, now let's check it. Now we can see the component here, but still we have an error, so let's check in console. Columns is not defined. Okay, so somewhere, okay, so by mistake as is here, so let's remove and check it. Okay, now we can see data table here, but still we are not able to see the data, and you can see over here we got an error. So let's click on this. Okay, so we got an error related to Apex class. So in order to resolve this error, we need to deploy this Apex class to org. So let me deploy it. Now you may notice here we do not have option to deploy source to org, because with scratch org we don't have that option. So in that case, what you can do, you can again use command plate UI, and here you will find push changes to org option. Push source to default scratch org. Okay, so let's use it. Okay, changes deployed successfully. Now let's check in our browser and let's refresh it. All right, now you can see data here. Okay, now let's increase some width of this text box and give some padding as well. Okay, so I have changed this item layout size to 8, and also I have added a class to give some padding. Okay, now it is looking better. Now we have checkboxes here, but in our demo we don't have checkboxes, we have row numbers. This also we can configure by assigning some attributes. So let's add some attributes. Hide checkbox column to true and show row number column to true. Okay, okay, These all attributes you will get to know from the official website of Lightning component library. Okay. Now we will test these components in Salesforce org instead of local development server. So for that, we need to deploy our component and need to create a app page to add these components. So let's first deploy the components. Here, before going to deploy components to org, let's update configuration file for this parent component so we can use it in app page. So set is export true and add targets. So is export true means we can use it in Salesforce, and where we can use it, that we can define in targets. So as of now, we just want to add it in our app page. Okay. And we don't need to do these changes in our other two components because they are child of this component. So it is not required with them. So in nutshell, if we want to use component individually in Salesforce, then we need to set targets and expose it. And for child components, it is not required. Okay. And now we are done with configurations. So let's deploy to org. Deployment is done. So let's open our Salesforce org. Here first let's create a app page. So let's open app builder and select Lightning app builder. And here we want to create new page. So let's click on new and select app page. And let's type label. And let's select main region and right sidebar and click on finish. Okay. Now we are in app builder interface. So let's add our component here, and that we will find in this custom components category. So let's drag and drop it here. Okay. So let's save and activate it. Click on activate. And let's add this page in sales app. So select sales here and click on this add page to app. Okay. And click on save. Now again click on save. Okay. Now let's open sales app. Now here you can find LWC accounts tab. So click on this. Okay. Now we can see same list here in Salesforce org as well. So let's test the search functionality. So let's write edge here and click on search. Okay. Search is working fine. Alright. So we are done with our first requirement. Like we have completed with account list with search. Now let me open my another org and see the next step. So we are done with our left part. Like we have created this search box and this accounts list and search functionality also working. Okay. Now as a next step, we will develop this account context component. So before jumping to the code, let's understand how it will work and what we need to do. So in this component, initially when account is not selected, then no account selected message should appear. And once we click on view contact button, then all the contact accounts should be listed here with edit and delete button. So here we do not have direct relationship between these components, like they are unrelated components. And we want to pass account ID on this context list components once we click on this view contact button. So how we can do this? Using PubSub or LMS, Lightning Messaging Services. So here we will use LMS. Okay. So first let's create new component, then we will create Lightning Message Service. So let me open my VS Code and create new component. Account contacts. Now it's time to create messaging channel. So before that, let's see important points about Lightning Messaging Services. So the first point is how we can create it. So to create Lightning Messaging channel, we don't have any automated way like command or command plate UI option. We have to create it manually in VS Code. So the first question is where we can create it. So first of all, we need to create new folder messaging channels under default. Then we need to create a file under this folder, and file name format should follow this, like channel name dot message channel hyphen meta dot xml. For example, let's say our channel name is view account context channel, then dot, then message channel, then hyphen meta dot xml. So this will be the format of file name, and when we use it in our components, then underscore c will be added. So name will be view account context channel underscore c. And this is the sample XML code that we will use in our XML file. So first let me create a new folder under defaults. So this is the default. So let me select this default and click on this new folder and name it message channels. Okay, so we have created a folder, and now let's create a file as well. And this is the name of our file. So like I have copied this from my PPT. Okay, so this is the same format that we have seen over there. So let me press enter. Okay, so now we have a blank XML file, and here I will paste my sample XML. That also I will copy from my PPT. In your case, you can take it from Google by just typing LMS sample definition. Okay, so now let's understand it. So here master label means what will be the name of our channel, and is exposed true means we can use it in our components. And now important point is here we have to define fields for our data that we want to pass from one place to another. For example, you want to pass record ID from one component to another, that we have to define here as a field. Okay, so in our case we have to pass account ID and account name. So let's create two fields here. First is account ID. Okay, I have defined two fields here, one for account ID, another for account name. So this is how you can create a messaging channel under this message channel folder, and you can define your fields here. Okay, now we have to use this messaging channel in our components, and you know LMS work on pub/sub model, means publisher and subscriber model. So whenever we will publish data in this channel, then all the subscribers will get notified. So we will publish data from our result component when we click on view contact button, and we will subscribe this channel in account context component. So we will get selected account details here. Okay, so let's open browser and search about how to publish and subscribe LMS in LWC. So I have opened Salesforce official website. So let's check out for this publish. So here we will get sample code. So we don't have to write everything from ourselves. So let me copy required code from here and paste it in our result component. This is I am doing for publishing. So here we are importing publish and message context method from message service module, and here we need to import our messaging channel. So let's change the name here. So let me copy this and paste it here. Okay, and change the name here also, and here we need to add underscore c. So let's add that also. Okay, so we have imported these two methods and this messaging channel. Okay, now let's see what we have more. So let's copy these also. So let me paste it here, and here we are defining the scope, and this is the code to publish messaging channel. So we will use this code in our view contact button click. So now we need to create view contact button click event handler. So our button is in data table, so we can't create directly on click for our button, but we can use raw action event here. So let me define that with data table. On raw action, and let's define handler here. Okay, so whenever we will click on that button, then this handler will get called. So let me create it in JS file. Now the question is how we will get account ID and account name here in this handler, and what if we have multiple buttons in data table, then how we will identify which button is clicked, right? So here in this event parameter, we will get all the details in detail property, like we will get action and row property. So using them, we will identify which button is clicked and what is the account ID. Okay, so let me write code here to get the details and publish channel message. Okay, okay, so here I have read button name using detail.action.value property. So this is how we will get to know which button is clicked. And here I have added a condition. So this code run only when we click on view contact button, though right now we have only one button, but in case of multiple buttons it is required. Okay, and here in this payload constant, I have added account ID and account name property and assign details by extracting from detail.row property. Like in this row property, we will get all the details of table row. So we have over there ID and name. So this is how I have read these ID and name and assigned in these properties. And these property names should be same as field name that we have defined in our messaging channel over here. Okay, now let me remove this. And now we are done with our publishing part. So let me open account context component and subscribe this channel. And again, let me copy code from Salesforce website, so we don't have to write everything by ourselves. So let me click on this subscribe and unsubscribe. Here we have an implemented example of subscribe and unsubscribe. So let me copy required code. And replace our messaging channel. Okay, and let's import this wire. Now we have wire also here, and let's declare this subscription property as well. Okay, so I have copied just required code here. So let me explain it to you. So here we are importing all the required methods from messaging service module, like subscribe, unsubscribe, application scope, and message context. And this is the method to subscribe the channel. So first here we are just checking like, is it already subscribed or not? If not, then we are subscribing it here and assigning in this subscription property. Okay, so here in this subscribe method, we are passing our message context and our channel name. So let me replace the channel name. Now here we need to define the callback. Callback means whenever we will publish anything in this channel, then this callback method will get called. Okay, so let me change it here. So let me rename it data, then handle account selection. Okay, and let me create a method here. Okay, so whenever we will publish anything in this messaging channel, then this message will get called. So we need to write code here to read our account ID or account name. Okay, now we will call this method in our connected callback. So whenever our component get load, then this method will get called and our channel will be subscribed for this component. Okay, okay, so we are done with our subscription part. Like whenever this component will get load, then this connected callback will get called, and over here we are calling a method to subscribe our messaging channel. Okay, So this is how we can subscribe messaging channel in LWC. Now we also unsubscribe this messaging channel when our component get unload. So let me create disconnected callback here, and we will call this method to unsubscribe this channel. So we are done with subscribe and unsubscribe. Now let's create a property to hold this account ID. So let's create here account ID and assign account ID from this callback method, this dot account ID. And here in this data we will get two properties, account ID and name. Why we will get these? Because we have defined these properties in our messaging channel and we are sending them as a payload while publishing the message. Okay, so let me write here account ID. Okay, now in this component we have account ID. Now we want to read contacts using this account ID. So let me create a Apex class method first. And we want to return list of contacts. So let me change the return type. And let's change the method name. Also let's add an input parameter to get account ID. Okay, now let's write the SQL query. Okay, so we are done with our query, in which we are returning ID and name from contact object, and we have added a condition with account ID. Okay, so it will return all the contacts which belongs to this account ID. Okay, now let's import this method in our component. So let me copy the code to import the method and paste it here and change the method name. Alright, so here we will call this Apex class method using imperative approach, though here we can call it using wire as well, but I just wanted to show you like how we can call Apex class method using imperative approach. So let's call it using imperative approach. So here we have two ways, one is using promises and another one is using async and await. So promises are the old way to run asynchronous code, but async and await is the latest feature of ECMAScript. So we will use this today. And if you want a detailed video on difference between promises and async and await and what are the advantages of using async and await over promises, then ping me in the comments. I will create a separate video. Okay, now let me write code to call this Apex method using async and await. Okay, now I have called this Apex class method using async and await. So whenever we are using await, then we need to add async keyword with the method name. Okay, so you can see this is the very simple to call a Apex class method using async and await. This is just a single line. Okay, and here I have assigned response into context property, so we can use it in our HTML markup. Okay, so now we got data from database and hold them into this context property. Now it's time to bind these contacts on UI. So let me open HTML file and write code. So let me start writing markup here. So first let me create lightning card and define title. So if you have observed in our sample example, title was coming dynamically. I mean, when no account is selected, then we will see contacts here, and in body part we will see no account selected. And once we click on view contact button, then account name is added before contacts, and over here If we don't have any contact in this selected account, then no contact found message should be visible. Okay. And if we have contacts in selected account, let's say over here, then we should see the contact list with edit and delete button, and also we will see a add contact button. Okay. Now let me open my VS Code again. So here to show title dynamically, let's create a title property in JS file and set default value as contacts. So when no account is selected, then contacts will be visible there. Now let's come to LMS callback handler and modify this title property by appending account name, and we are getting account name in this data property. Okay, so this is how we made this title property dynamic and append the account name. Now let's bind it in our HTML markup. Now let's create a lightning layout and let's add multiple row attributes. So we can have multiple contacts in this, else it will show all the contacts in single row. And now let's add CSS class to give some padding. Okay, now we want to show a message no account selected when we haven't selected any account, and this should be conditionally visible because once we click on view contact button, then it should be hidden. So as we have discussed in last video, if we conditionally want to render element, then we can use if true and if else directives, and we have to supply a boolean property to them. So as of now we don't have any boolean property. In this case, what we can do, we can create a getter property. So let me define a getter property in JS file. And from here we will return true and false, and I am using a ternary operator over here. If we have value in this account ID, then we will return true, else we will return false. Okay, now let's create a template tag and use this property over there, template, and here we will use if false directive because we want to show this when account is not selected. Okay, so let me write message here and add a class to show this message in center. Okay, now if account is selected, then we have to show contacts list or no contact available message. So let's create another template over here and use if true directive, and on top of this let me define lightning layout item here, and size will be 12, so it will be visible in full width. Now let's write another template tag and add if true directive. So what we want to do here, if we have contacts, then we will show this template and iterate all the contacts, and let's create another getter property to check do we have contacts or not. So what it will do, it will return true when we have contacts greater than 0 and return false when we do not have any contact. Okay, now let me use this property here and create another template to show message when we do not have any contact and use false here. Okay, and write a message also. So let me copy this and paste this here and change the message. Now if contacts are available, then this part will be visible, else this will be visible. Okay, now let's iterate all the contacts using for each directive. So let me write markup here, then we will discuss on that. Alright, so here I have used for each directive to loop through all the contacts and show contact name in 60% part, and rest of 40% part we will show buttons. So why I'm saying 60 and 40%? Because we can create 12 part of lightning layout. So I have defined add part with contact name and 4 with buttons. And if you want to know more about this, then you can search lightning grid system. Okay. Now we want to create buttons with icon. So let me open component library and find button here and select this button icon. And here you will find many options. So you can select as per your choice or requirement. And here you will get HTML markup. So let me use this brand variant, and let me copy the markup for this. This is the brand, and we want to add button for delete. So let me copy delete HTML and paste in our component. Okay. And let me paste again for edit and change the icon name edit and title also. Alright, so now we have created two buttons, edit and delete, and we are done with HTML markup. So let's save and deploy this code to org. So let me press Ctrl+Shift+P and select this push source to default org. Deployment is done. So let me open our LWC accounts page, and now here in this left part we also need to our contacts component. So let me edit this page by clicking on this gear icon, and here we have an edit page option. So let me select this. And before doing this, we need to export our contacts component. So let me change the markup over here, and let me copy that from here. So this will be available in our app builder page, because right now it is not available there. Let me refresh it. Now we have this account contacts. So let me drag and drop it here and click on save and click on back. Alright, now we can see our account contacts component here, and by default what we can see contacts is the title and no account selected is the message. Okay, and now let me click on this view contacts button, and the title has been changed, like account name has been added here with the contact, and you can see no contacts found here. So let me click on another button. Again we can see this message. So I think there is something wrong. So let me open my VS Code again and check it here. This is the method, and we are calling this here and assigning in contacts, but I think we forgot to call it from here. So let me call it here, like when we select the account, then after we need to call this get contacts method. So let me call it here, and let's deploy it again. Okay, deployed successfully. Let me refresh it. Now let me click on any of these buttons. No contacts found. Click on this. Alright, now we can see the contacts list here along with edit and delete button. Okay, and once we select for another account, then contacts will be changed. Okay, now as a next step, we need to work on these buttons. Like we need to implement functionalities on these buttons, like to edit and delete. Okay, so let me open my VS Code and first create click handler for both buttons. And let's create these methods in JS file. Okay, now to edit and delete selected contact, we also need contact ID, and we didn't bind contact ID with these buttons. So let's see how we can get selected contact ID in this JS file. So in such kind of situations where we need to pass additional data with click handler in JS file, then we can use data attributes with the element. And data attributes are nothing, just simple HTML attributes that starts with data. And why we use these data attributes? Because with HTML element, we have standard attributes like ID, name, class. But what if we want to bind some more details with element? In that case, we need to use data attributes. So here let me add a custom data attribute to attach our contact ID. So that can be read in JavaScript file, and it will be added in kebab case and it starts with data. And let me assign contact ID here. Okay, and same let me paste with delete also. Alright, we have bind our contact ID with button markup. Now let's read it in our JavaScript file. Before that, let me create a property to hold editable contact ID. So to read data attribute, we use dataset.attribute_name, and attribute name will be in camel case. So this is how we can pass additional detail from HTML to JavaScript. Okay. Now, if we have seen in demo requirement, modal popup is opening with form on edit button click. So now let's work on modal popup, and there are many ways to open modal popup, but we will work on simple one. So first let's copy modal popup markup. So let me open browser and find SLDS modal popup here. And this is a Lightning Design System website, and here we have many examples of modal popups. So let me use this one. So over here we have HTML. So let me click on this show code, and let me copy this code from here and paste it in our component HTML file. And we want to show this modal popup on add or edit button click. So let's wrap it into the template tag so we can show it conditionally, and use if true directive. And let's remove unnecessary HTML from body and remove this footer part also, and create a click handler on this close button. So we can hide pop-up once we click on this. Now let's create a property in JS file to use with this if true directive. Show modal popup and set default value to false, and when we click on add or edit, then set it to true. And once we click on close popup, then again set it to false, and also assign this editable contact ID to null in this close popup handler, and use this property in HTML markup. And let's change the title as well. Contact edit, I am hardcoding it here, but on the basis of button click, you can change this title as well, like add new contact or contact edit. Okay, now we are done with our modal popup, and now we will use Lightning record edit form to add or edit contact. And you know, Lightning record edit form is the part of Lightning data system, and here in LDS we have two technologies to work with Salesforce data. First is base components, another one is wire adapter. And we have three types of base components. First is lightning record form, second is lightning record edit form, and third is lightning record view form. And lightning record form is a combo of edit and view form. Like with the help of this, we can have both mode, edit or view. Okay. And lightning record edit form is generally used to show form to add or edit record. And if you want to show record details, then generally we use lightning record view form. Okay. So here we only want to show edit or add mode in pop-up. So that's why we will use lightning record edit form. Okay. Now let me open component library to get basic HTML markup and type here record. Then you will see all these options here in lightning web components, and let me select this record edit form. And here you will get more details, and if you want to learn, then you can read here. And here you will get basic HTML markup. So let me copy it and paste in our model pop-up body. Okay. And here we need to provide object API name, like which object record you want to add or edit. So in our case, this should be contact. So let me hard code it here. And here in this record ID attribute, we need to provide editable contact ID. So let me bind that property here. Now here in this form tag, we need to define what all fields we want to show to the user. So let me add name and account field. Let me hard code it here as of now. And assign default account ID value to our account ID property. Okay. So here I have used lightning input field, and in this field name attribute, we need to give our field name. So I have provided name and account ID, and there are lots of advantages using input field. First is it will show editable field as per data type. For example, account ID will be drop down, not text box. Or let's say we have a field with date data type, then this HTML markup will be same, but when it will appear in front of user, then it will convert it into date picker. Okay. And another advantage is input fields also show translated labels if our org support multiple languages. Okay. And this is the submit button. So once user will click on this, then form will be submitted. So what's going on here? When we click on add or edit button, then this pop-up will open and we will see name and account ID field along with submit button. And once user will click on submit button, then data will be saved into database, and base component will fire some custom events. So if we want to perform any logic in them, that we can do. Like after data save, we want to close this pop-up and refresh contacts list. So that we can do by subscribing custom events. And generally lightning record edit form fire 3 to 4 custom events like click, submit, success and error. Okay. So we will use on success here. But if you want to perform any other logic, when form is getting submitted or when any error occur, then you can subscribe those other events also. But as of now, we will subscribe on success only, because once record gets saved, then we need to close this pop-up. Okay. So let me define here on success. And let's implement it in JS file. So here what I am doing, I am calling this close pop-up handler, because here we are assigning isShow model pop-up property to false and editable contact to null. So with the help of this, our pop-up will get closed, and here we are calling get contacts method again. So it will refresh our contacts list. Okay. So now we are done with our changes. So let me save and deploy it to org. Deployment is done. Now let's test it. Let me refresh it. And now let's click on any of view contacts button and click on edit button. Okay. Now we can see the model pop-up here, and here we have name, account name and submit button. That's what we have defined in our HTML file, right? And as we have discussed about Lightning input field, like input field will get rendered according to the data type. So you can see over here for name we have drop down and 2 text boxes, and for account name we have drop down. Okay, so in nutshell, Lightning record input field will get rendered according to field data type. Okay, now let's update something here in first name and click on save button. Okay, now you can see updated name here, right? So let me click on this again and remove it and click on save again. Now 123 is removed from here, right? So this is how we can use Lightning record edit form and edit Salesforce records, and this is very simple. We just need to define these things here in HTML markup, and we need to provide here object name. If we are in edit mode, then we need to provide record ID here, and in this form markup we need to define fields, like what all fields we want to show to user. Okay, now let's create add button as well. So let me copy and paste this edit button markup, and we want to show this add button once account is selected, so that's why I'm creating it here. Now let's change the icon and title. And let's create this handler in JavaScript file. And here we just need to set its show model property to true. So let me assign it to true. Okay, so we have created a button and click handler also, and in click handler we are changing this property value to true, so our model pop-up will appear. Now let's work on delete functionality. So first we will show confirmation box with a message, so user can make sure before delete. Now to show confirmation, we can use window.confirm, but this will be deprecated by most of the browsers in coming days, like Safari or Chrome. So Salesforce launched their built-in module to show alert, prompt and confirmation box. So we will use that here. So now let me copy code from component library and search here for confirm. Okay, and select it. And here you will find code. So let's copy and paste this in our component. And let's use async here, because if we are using await, then we need to add async before method. And now let's change this message and label. And now here we have multiple ways to delete a record, like we can use apex methods, or we can also use wire adapter. So if you want to perform only delete operation, then you can use wire adapter. And if you want to perform multiple server-side operations before or after delete, then you should go with custom apex method. Okay, but for simple card operations, we can use LDS features. So as of now, we will use wire adapter. So let me import delete record method from UI record API module. And use this method to delete contact. So let's call it here. And in this method, we need to pass our contact ID. So let me copy the code to get contact ID. Okay, so I'm reading contact ID from data attribute. Okay, so that's it. If you are using wire adapter, we only need to call this method, and rest all the things are taken care by the Lightning data services. So this is very simple, and you can use wire adapter for simple card operations with the advantage of client-side caching. Okay, now let's show toast message as well after contact delete. So let me copy toast code from component library and search here toast and click on this platform show toast event, and here we will find code to show toast message. So let me copy this method and paste in our component, and also import this method. So let me copy this code as well. Now let's make this method little dynamic. So we want to pass all these details from caller side, like from where we are calling this method. So we can use same method at multiple places and also pass variant property from here. So same code can be used for error, success and warning toast. Now let's take all these properties as an input parameter. Okay, now call this method after context delete. And pass required parameters. Okay, so this is how we are calling this show toast method and passing required parameters. And now call get context method again to refresh our context list after delete. And also read this contact ID before confirmation. And I think we forgot to import this method, so let me import this. Okay, so now we are done with our changes. So let's deploy and test it. Deployment is done. So let's open our browser and refresh it. Now click on any of these buttons. So if you can see here, now we can see add contact button as well. Okay, so let me click on this. So let me add a new contact here. Okay, so you can see we have added new contact for this account as well. And now if you want to delete this contact, then you can click on this delete button. So let me click on this. So you can see a model pop-up is here, and once user will click on cancel, nothing will happen. And once user will click on OK button, then contact will be deleted. Okay, and you can see a toast message as well, and also contact removed from the list. Okay, so this is how we have achieved whole requirement in this video. Like we have created a search box and context list, and we are getting data with the help of Apex method using wire decorator, and we are passing data from parent to child and child to parent, and also we are passing data between non-related components. And here in this account context list, we are calling Apex method with the help of imperative approach, and also we have used lightning data services using wire adapter and base components. And additionally we have seen like how we can show toast messages and confirmation box. Okay, so I think we have covered almost all the items which are in our agenda. So that's it in this video. I hope this video helped you to learn and understand LWC concepts. Though it was a crash course, so I tried to cover most of the topics in single go and in fast forward way. But if you want a detailed video on particular topic, or you want me to create a full course with separate videos on each topic, then please do let me know in the comments. So I will start working on that, and I will upload this code on GitHub and share link in description, so you can download it if you required. And please like this video and subscribe my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching. I will see you in next video.